comes to the hands-on activity part. Now, here are the items you'll need for mummifying a hot dog. Of course, you'll need your hot dog. Now, what's a lot of fun for kids is to get, maybe if you can, several hot dogs that you have on hand, or even if you just have one hot dog. We kind of found it fun when I was teaching to have different brands of hot dogs and find out how they were affected differently. But one hot dog would suffice as well. So what you're going to do, this is a 2-week activity. On day 1, collect data, and then we're going to start to mummify the hot dog. So the first thing you're going to want to do for collecting the data is find out the length of your hot dog. So just get a ruler that you have around the house or a tape measure, lay the hot dog down, note how long it is, and have your child write it down on a chart, the length of the hot dog. Second, we're going to find the circumference of the hot dog. So you're going to take, I have a piece of yarn here. If you have a shoestring around the house or thread or any string that you have, put the string around the hot dog. Take your finger and note where it ends. Measure the length of that string. Mark it down in your table. That's the circumference of the hot dog. Now we're going to find the weight of the hot dog. So right here I just have a food weigher that many people have around the house. You might even have a digital one, that could work. I bet you could even use a bathroom scale if you had to. Now, what you want to know with a food scale to tell your child, of course you probably already know this, but this is at 0. When I put the food tray down, it looks like it's at about 2.5 ounces, so I'd want to subtract that from the weight. Put the hot dog in, notice the weight, and write it down. Now I did look at ounces now, however, I have found that grams sometimes does work a little better for some kids because it's more precise and easier to read, whatever your preference is. The last thing for your child to write down is observations of what the hot dog looks like. What color is it? What does it smell like? That's gonna be a lot of fun. You see, what they're going to do in a week and 2 weeks from now is this whole process all over again. And that smell will change. Okay, so how do we actually mummify a hot dog? Well, the ancient Egyptians used natron salt. We're gonna use good old baking soda, which we have around the house, so that's good. Now what I like to use is just a simple sandwich bag. Not even a quart size, just a sandwich bag. I put some baking soda at the bottom already. I'm going to take my hot dog and put it inside the bag and kind of nestle it around. And then I'm going to put more baking soda on top. The key here is that you do not want to see any of the hot dog in your baggie. So none of that pink should show through. You should almost look like just a bag of pure baking soda. You'll get better results this way. Now you could use a Tupperware. I use a baggie because it's cheap and we have it around the house. However, I have used Tupperware in the past where I put the baggies inside the Tupperware, and that will help seal in that smell because you don't want that around your house. Now notice right here I can see the hot dog a little bit, so I'm just going to work it through so I can't see the hot dog anymore. And basically I'm going to store this away for a week. If you're using several hot dogs, maybe put some masking tape or a label on here to note the different kinds of hot dogs. Or if you have several children in your house, you can put their names on it. Store it away for a week. A week later, come back, take the hot dog out, measure the length, the circumference, the weight, and note the color of the hot dog one more time. And then at the end of 2 weeks, that's your final day to do it again. And that's when you'll really see and smell those results. let's look at a little spoiler and see what these hot dogs will look like. So I have some pictures that I took back when I was teaching, and I'm going to show you some of these steps along the way to help you get a better understanding. So first of all, my students, they were able to put their hot dogs on their scale, just like I showed you earlier. And what you'll notice when the hot dog's on here is there's a tiniest bit of baking soda. On week 1, at the end of week 1 and end of week 2, they'll really want to brush that baking soda off so they get a correct weight. So here's what the hot dog looks like after week 1. And again, there's a little bit of baking soda, but brush it off as much as you can with the paper towel. One more picture to show you here is, here's how I stored the hot dogs with my class. Is I had all the baggies with their names on it, and I put it into a Tupperware to help against that smell. I had 60 students, so after 3 class periods of having the hot dogs, after week 1 and especially after week 2, it does not smell very good. But that's the fun part that kids love about it. So don't shy away from doing it just because of that. And you'll have less hot dogs, so it won't be bad. Okay, so here's some more spoilers for you to show you what the hot dogs look like. So right here is a before and after picture. So on the right is a normal hot dog. On the left is the mummified hot dog. Hopefully you can tell by the picture that it's gotten much skinnier. It has gotten a little bit shorter, and it's going to weigh less. Now I did it for 2 weeks because I found it off the internet long ago to use 2 weeks, but you can always extend it to 3 and see what would happen. Now I have some other close-up pictures here of that mummified hot dog. Again, the different brands actually do have a different color, and it's fun to see what the different brands look like, and I've tried all beef, chicken, different kinds. Okay, now my favorite pictures here are to show you when you're all done taking the measurements, break that hot dog open and look at the insides. The outside will be dark and mummified, and the inside will still be a normal hot dog color. That's what is amazing for kids to see. And again, it all does depend on different brands of hot dogs. Here's, I think, an Oscar Mayer one, has a little bit less pink inside than the other one. A lot more preservatives in those Oscar Mayer hot dogs. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk to you about is that you can extend this lesson further. So when your child is making the graph of his or her observations, maybe have them make a graph of the data. Use graph paper, make a line graph. Go onto the computer and learn about how to make a graph. You don't have to stop with this project. Also, I used the hot dog because it was cheap and easy to buy in bulk. And you might not have hot dogs on hand, or maybe you have a curious child who wonders what it would be like to use an orange or an apple. And there are directions I've found online that people have mummified those things. They just peeled the orange. And I think that would be a lot of fun. In fact, what I did with my kids was we did chicken. So I have a whole chicken here. Of course, it's important to get rid of those insides. Now, if you use a chicken, it's a different step. Instead of plain baking soda, you use a mixture of half baking soda and half salt. And forewarning, you need a whole lot of it to do a whole chicken. And you need a lot more time. This took about a month to get the chicken looking like that. And again, I had to check in on it about every week and a half or so. And another kind of warning to you, that baking soda salt mixture becomes almost like a sludge. I had to take the chicken out and get rid of all that and get it and change it out to new baking soda salt mixture. It's very important to change out your baking soda. Even with the hot dog, halfway through, change that baking soda after week 1. That's going to help soak up more moisture and have better results. Lastly, maybe have your child do some extra research about pharaohs. They could make a timeline and put down the different pharaohs on a timeline. BC is a whole different ball game than AD, and helps them learn about skip counting to make a timeline. Something I did with my students, I had them make baseball cards for the pharaohs. And I just used Microsoft Word and put some different lines on there, and the front had a spot for them to draw a picture of the pharaoh and put the name of the pharaoh, and the back was space for them to put down what years the pharaoh reigned and some fun stats about the pharaoh. Or lastly, if you want a longer writing assignment, I had my students write obituaries for the pharaohs of what big accomplishments they did in their life and how they died. And some of those pharaohs have very interesting stories about how they died as they were all fighting for that throne. Quite interesting drama there. So, to finish up all this, remember there are 4 key concepts to help you have a good lesson. Number 1, build that background knowledge. Make sure they understand the time frame and place where this is all happening. Number 2, teach the concept, teach that lesson. In the case I told you before, go online and find a video about the actual steps of how to mummify a pharaoh. Step number 3 is the hands-on part, the activity itself, which in your case might be mummifying the hot dog or chicken or whatever the case may be. And lastly, the last step is extend their learning. Again, that could be through a baseball card, that could be through a timeline, whatever it is that you decide. But these are some great tips just to help teach an ancient Egypt lesson, but you could use those same concepts to teach any lesson that you are interested in. So thank you for joining us here from the Journey Museum and Learning Center. We are so passionate about teaching our patrons that come here, and I hope that the learning will continue even from the comforts of our home. Till next time.